Welcome friends, in this video let's discuss about services provided by biodiversity and threats to biodiversity. This video is useful for mains examination rather than prelims. So let's look at the services provided by biodiversity. Broadly, there are three important services provided by biodiversity. This includes ecological services, biological services and social services. First, let's look at the ecological services. Biodiversity provides water resources to the human beings for their survival. This includes ecosystem, the biodiversity includes aquatic ecosystem as well, and the tall trees and grasses present nearby the aquatic ecosystem helps in filtering of the water, thereby making that fit for human consumption. So this is one of the service provided by the biodiversity. And soil formation and protection. So biodiversity includes varied organisms ranging from microorganisms like bacteria, fungi, actinomycetes, and small organisms like earthworms, small insects. Okay, and these components of biodiversity helps in the soil formation. Okay, by creating humus. Okay, and after formation it also helps in the protection of the soil. For example, the grasses which grow on the soil, top layer of the soil, helps preventing the soil erosion. So different components of biodiversity helps in the soil formation and protection. And the function is nutrient recycling and storage. Here the tall trees has deeper root system which helps in recycling of the nutrients which are present in the deeper layer of the earth, and helps that to bring to the top layer by absorption of the nutrients. Okay, and at the same time, various leguminous plants which have root nodules, and in that root nodules the rhizobium bacteria is present, and that rhizobium bacteria absorbs the atmospheric nitrogen, and fixes the atmospheric nitrogen. So in this way the biodiversity helps in nutrient cycling and storage. Okay, and next function is pollutant breakdown and absorption. So the complex organic pollutants are broken down by various microorganisms like bacteria and fungi, and these broken down pollutants are absorbed by the living plants. Okay, so this helps in removing the pollutants which are present in the ecosystem. So this is one of the important function. And the fifth function is that of the contribution to climate stability. We know that forests are the sink to carbon dioxide. These are all the reservoirs of the carbon dioxide. They absorb the carbon dioxide for the photosynthesis. So in this way they help in reducing the global warming. And forests are also a medium for carbon dioxide sequestration, that is storage of the carbon dioxide. And the next function is maintenance of ecosystem balance. So this biodiversity is part of the ecosystem. They help in the maintenance of balance. Okay, and the next function is recovery from unpredictable events. Not the form here, it's from recovery from unpredictable events like destruction of forest through floods, earthquakes, forest fires, okay, cyclones. So in such event the biodiversity helps in the ecological succession. For example, if this patch of forest is destroyed due to forest fire or anything, and nearby biodiversity provides the planting material, seed material for the ecological succession of this area. So these are all the ecosystem services provided by the biodiversity. Next is biological services. It provides food source for the human beings for their survival. Here the most important thing is that 100% of the food comes from the nature. Okay, 100% of the food comes from nature itself. We do not produce any synthetic food. Okay, this is the single most important use of biodiversity. And next is it provides medicinal resources and pharmaceutical drugs. And at present, even with the present advanced age, we source 50% of the material from the 50% of the chemical medicines are based on the nature. Okay, and next is wood products. For example, for furniture, for building ships, okay, for whatnot, for various purposes we use the wood products like timbering. Okay, and next is ornamental plants. The orchid that are growing in your garden are from the forest, and various ornamental plants are sourced from the biodiversity. And next is breeding stocks and population reservoirs. Here that the improved varieties of rice, wheat, barley, tomato, carrot, potato, and various other the cultivated crops has their wild counterparts in the forests. So these wild counterparts have useful genetic resources which help them in the future breeding program. Okay, and if you want to breed the climate resistant, that is the temperature resistant and water resistant varieties of rice, you have to go back to eastern Himalayas. Okay, eastern Himalayas and western and eastern Ghats for the genetic material which are resistant to that factors. Okay, so they have the genetic resources for the future breeding program as well, and the future resources are also present in biodiversity. And biodiversity has diversity in genes, species and ecosystem, so this also helps in meeting the any unforeseen consequences of the future. So these are the biological services provided by the biodiversity. And next is social services. Okay, social services in the area of research and education. We can study the ecosystem and understand our origin and survival capabilities. Okay, and the new science called biomimicking, for example, studying the natural system, like the way the insect flies. Okay, the way how the insects utilize the thermodynamics for flying, that can be imitated for designing aircrafts. Okay, for designing bombers. So this is the biomimicking, mimicking the biological processes to design new products. So this is the new science. So it provides social services as well. And next is tourism. So tourism, we know that wildlife sanctuaries, national parks provide recreation for the city folks who are. And next is cultural values. So most of the tribes in India believe that the forests are their gods. Okay, there are certain patches within the forest are considered as very sacred. These places are called sacred groves. These are worshipped by the tribals as gods. Okay, so this also fulfills the religious needs of the human beings. One example is Devavana. So these are present in the Western Ghat of the India. And certain tribes consider some of the animal species, for example tortoise or any form of fish or tiger, as their ancestors. So they believe that they trace their ancestry from those animal species. So this phenomenon is called totemism. Okay, so they worship those species and they protect those species from extinction, and they help in the reproduction of those species. So this also provides the religious function as well for the human beings. So these are all the services provided by the biodiversity. Next is causes for the loss of biodiversity. We all know that I am listing only the important things here: the earthquakes, flooding, landslides, competition between the species, invasive species and diseases. Here invasive species, I would like to give one example. Lantana camara. It is a shrub which grow at the base level of the soil. Okay, so it forms a complete mat on the soil surface. It prevents the other plants to grow. So since the various herbivores like rabbit, deer do not have the capacity to digest these shrubs, so they die because of starvation. So this is the effect of invasive species. In turn, because of lesser number of deer species, other carnivores also suffer like tiger, leopard and lion, because of the shortage of food. So this is the effect of invasive species. And diseases, for example, rinderpest, which attacks the cattle, also attacks the wild buffaloes. So this is one of the causes for losses of biodiversity. And next, man-made causes including deforestation, destruction of habitat for mining, industrialization, and establishing railway routes and road routes, and unsustainable exploitation of medicinal plants, timbering, and other forest resources, conservation of forest land to agriculture, industry, and residential purposes, extensive agriculture, okay, and use of pollutants like use of excessive fertilizers and runoff, and resulting eutrophication in the water bodies, and thereby reducing biodiversity. These are all the causes. And effect of pollutants, as I mentioned earlier, and unsustainable use of coastal areas, leading to coastal erosion and death of coral reefs. And these are all the man-made causes for the reduction of the biodiversity. So thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe to the channel.